We just wrapped up our last full work week for the year at Enhanced Cleaning, and wow, what a year it's been. At the time of recording this, if you are listening to this in the present, it is December 22nd, so we're heading into the Christmas break. Everyone's going to get a much needed rest and a bit of recovery for the new year, and I'm actually flying to Europe tomorrow. So I'm going to Malta, Italy, and Greece, I think, maybe some other places. And Stacey, our operations manager at Enhanced Cleaning, is also taking quite a few weeks off for a big holiday. And between all that, so we've got our 2 weeks of closure for the business, but then myself and Stacey will also be away for an additional 2 weeks. And the cool thing about that is the business is going to continue to run like normal without either of us. So, last year, if we wanted to take breaks, it was this massive ordeal, and one of us had to be here and the other had to kind of cover, and it was just a bit chaotic, and we lacked a lot of management structure. And that was one of the big dominoes that I wanted to hit over this year was, how can I make it so that we can really step away from this business and I can give autonomy to my management as well? So we've now got more layers of management, and it's allowing not only myself, but the operations manager, Stacey, to take a step back, and the business will just continue to run and actually grow like normal. So we've got 2 virtual assistants that kind of just run the reception, the schedule, the quoting, all of that stuff, and all of the client-facing stuff and liaising with employees. And then we've also got a second in charge for Stacey, kind of like an assistant manager, and she will just hold down the fort while the 2 of us are away. And so yeah, it's been a really great year, just getting a lot of this management infrastructure in place so that we could do things like this, so that we could just take a step back, take a bit of a breather. And what's crazy is that this has also been our biggest year ever, like in terms of growth and revenue. In fact, we had our biggest week ever last week. So our last full work week of the year happened to be our biggest week to date, which is really, really cool. Super high revenue. It's mind-boggling seeing those numbers on my screen, and a lot of responsibility as well. I'm really feeling the responsibility, and I'm holding myself accountable. It's a really new thing to me. I mean, every day is a new day to me. Like, honestly, it's no 2 days are the same, and we are constantly on the move. We are constantly moving upward, and it's just, that's the fun of business though. It's the solving the problems that come up day to day and coming up with the big ideas, like where do we shift things next, or what's the next domino that I have to knock over in order to achieve XYZ. And so it's really just like my role is really just to be the thinker, so I'm constantly just racking my brain and how can I make things better, more efficient. I like this I can't remember where I learned this, but it's like the principle. You're like, what the hell is that? What is the principle? Bigger, better, faster, easier, all of that. Like, how can we make our business bigger, better, faster, whatever other ER words you can come up with. That's what I'm always trying to figure out. So even though we've got systems for this and that, I'm always thinking, how can I make that easier for the customer or better for this employee or whatever it may be? So that's a big thing that I was doing this year, and it's only going to continue next year. And yeah, it's a really, really cool thing to have happen when you have this much growth in the span of a year. And not only does that happen, but things actually get easier. So Stacey and I are able to have more autonomy now. We're able to have more freedom in our lives and in the business, even though the business has grown drastically since the previous year. And, if we told ourselves that, even a year ago, the business is going to double, but you're actually going to get more free time, there's going to be more profit and less headaches, we would have been like, hey, what planet have you just visited from? Because it's not this one. But that's where we're at, and that's the reality. And that can be anyone's reality in business. If they just think the right things and they take the right actions, that's where you end up. That is your utopia. And it's completely by design. Like, every little step that I've taken this year has been to lead us here. And now we're at the end. We can just leave the business for 4 weeks, myself and my operations manager, and we can come back and the business will have grown without us. So it's a pretty incredible thing. And I'm finally kind of at that stage of my business journey where I can just breathe a little bit. Like I've got enough layers in the business so that if anything goes wrong, there's a fail safe and there's a backup option, which is good. That's what I've been, all the success I've had. People are like, oh, you must be so proud. You must be so happy with what you're achieving. I'm like, there was always that thing in the back of my mind. I'm like, something's missing. And that was it. It was just that security and that peace of mind, knowing that I've got all my ducks in a row and nothing is going to shake this boat. And we're there now. So very cool. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to Europe tomorrow. So I'm just recording a podcast now. And I actually want to talk about something that it's a bit of simple mathematics. So if you listen to the last episode I did with Mel Emery, the episode 100, we talked quite a bit about maths and the importance of mathematics in business. And even if you don't like math, who does? What kind of freak enjoys mathematics? Some of you, I'm sure, there's a lot of people that go to uni and study it. They seek more math. Such a crazy concept to me. How do you go through, 14 years of schooling and then put your hand up and be like, oh, I'd actually like to go and do more of that. I'd like to go and learn trigonometry. I don't know what that is. I left school when I was 14 anyway. I think some people are crazy. But anyway, even if you don't like math, which 99% of us don't, business math is a whole different story. Business math is fun. It's attractive because we're talking about making money. We're talking about profit and everything that comes before and after profit. That's the cool stuff. Okay. There's no algebra, no fractions, none of that weirdo stuff. So we're going to be talking about math in this episode because now we know the importance of it. If you listen to that episode and if you've hopefully listened to other episodes I've done where I really try to hit the nail on the head with this and talk about the importance of knowing your numbers and metrics and all of that kind of stuff. That's what this episode is going to be about. There's a very, very simple shift that you can make in your business to double your profit with a very, very small percentage change. So you can actually double your profit. You can increase your profitability by 100% with a 16% change. Now you might think, how does that work? That doesn't seem like it's mathematically sound. How does that arithmetic work? Well, I'll tell you. Let's say you charge $60 an hour. Okay, that's pretty standard at this point in time. If you're listening to this in 50 years, when inflation is through the roof and people charge 10 grand an hour, bit different, but it just changes every year. So anyway, if you charge $60 an hour, and we'll just assume you have employees at this point. So, the average or even a good profit margin for a cleaning business with employees is around 15%. Like if you got 15% net profit, you're doing all right. Most cleaning businesses sit around 5 to 10%. So 15% of $60 an hour, $9 per hour net profit. Doesn't seem like a lot, but you multiply that across however many clients you have, and if you have like 10 staff members, that's like, it's adding up. So $60 an hour, $9 net profit. If you just increase to $70 an hour, which is around a 16% increase, you will then make $19 per hour in net profit. Okay, because none of your expenses change. All that's changed and all that's different is that you've increased your price by 16% and you've more than doubled your profitability. You've gone from $9 in net profit per hour to $19. That's like 111% increase, I'm pretty sure. So that's some crazy math, and that's some sexy math. That's some math that I can get behind, where I increase my prices by a very small fraction, but I can double my profit. And you're thinking like, yeah, okay, that sounds great and all. And, I could increase my prices by 50% and quadruple my profit, but that just doesn't really work in the real world, does it? It does. And I'm a fine example of that. Many of our members inside Booked Out Cleaners are fine examples of that. There's lots of other people who have done that. And, it's a scary thing, increasing your prices. I think I've done an episode probably nearly 2 years ago where I talk about how I did my first price increase and all the limiting beliefs I had going into that, and the mental gymnastics I was doing in my own head to try to give myself reasons why I shouldn't do it and why it's going to be bad and like how I'm going to lose clients and all this stuff. Even if 10% of your clients cancel after a 16% increase, you're still pretty much doubling your profit. Okay, we'll just run through some really basic back of napkin math, and I might get this a little bit wrong, but the principle remains the same. Okay, so let's just assume that we've got a business that's doing $300,000 a year in annual revenue, and the net profit of that is 15%. So that's $45,000. Now let's say they charge an hourly rate of $60. So their net profit per hour, as we said, is $9 an hour. And that means that they've got around 5,000 billable hours per year in order to get $300,000 revenue from $60 an hour in their service charge. Now, let's say they do that price increase. They go from 60 to 70 an hour, which is about 16% increase. Now, this is the thing people are scared of. Losing clients. Yes, you may lose clients. And 16% isn't a massive jump, but it's enough to maybe send some people the other way. So let's assume that 15% of your clients cancel, which is not ever going to happen. That's literally never happened. I've had like a 50% price increase and I lost, 3% of my clients. So don't worry about that. But anyway, let's just assume 15% of your client base leaves, which is a crazy amount. But anyway, so your new billable hours is 4,250, down from 5,000 because you lost 15% of your clients. Now we multiply the billable hours by the new hourly rate of 70, and that gives us $297,000. So you think, ooh, I've lost revenue. Like, it's not a lot. I've gone from 300,000 to 297, but it's still a net negative, right? Well, let's have a look at the net profit, which is the key here. So the old net per hour was 9. When we've increased to $70 an hour, it's now 19. So now the new annual net profit, we just multiply the billable hours by that new figure, that net profit figure of $19, we now get $80,000. So even though our revenue in this scenario has gone down by $3,000 a year, and we've lost 15% of our clients and we're doing less billable hours, the profit has gone from $45,000 to $80,000. Okay, pretty crazy, right? We lost 15% of our clients and the revenue dropped a little bit, but profit jumped by 80%. So you can afford to lose 15% of your whole business, but increase your profit by 80%. And that is the power of some very basic math. Okay, so you may have heard the whole thing about sanity metrics versus vanity metrics. Revenue is very much a vanity metric. So a lot of business owners make the mistake of like constantly running on that hamster wheel, trying to do more volume and increase their revenue. But that's a vanity metric. What we care about is the net profit, and the levers that are going to move the net profit are things like that, by simply just doing a price increase. And even though you made less revenue, you serve fewer clients, which is actually better because it means you have more time to focus on what you actually want to do, and you work fewer hours. You still almost made double the profit in that scenario. And that's just a 16% price increase. So you can imagine how this scales up, right? And so we need to let go of this revenue chasing mindset, because revenue pays your ego, but profit pays your life. That's the sanity metric. What we care about is profit. And so we need to reverse engineer whatever profit figure we want. And then all that's in the way of you and your profit goal, or whatever goal you have, financial goals, is just basic math. Okay. And then it's just filling in the gaps with your business acumen and whatever else you have to do to make that happen. But it all starts with you making that decision. And there's going to be a lot of mental things holding you back, a lot of mental blocks and limiting beliefs and this mindset that a lot of business owners have, where they're scared to do these things because they think that they're going to lose half their business. And the reality is, if they just did it, one, they would realize that they don't actually lose. You probably won't lose any clients at all, if not only a few. Okay. But then you also make so much more money by doing that. And that's what most people don't get. It's really basic math. Like, this is first grade level math, but people just don't do it. They don't look at business through that lens. And so I'm hoping that this is kind of hitting home at the moment. And I'm super guilty of this as well. Like, it took me so long to do my first price increase. And man, I was kicking myself later on, because when I really looked at the numbers and I ran some figures, like if I just did this price increase 6 months earlier, I looked at how much money I would have made over the course of that time. I was like, man, that was silly of me. And I didn't even lose any clients. Like when I did my biggest price increase ever, I think I lost, I've talked about this in an old podcast episode. I don't even remember, but it was like a single digit number. It was like 3 or 4 clients I lost. But then in the following weeks, I just gained them back, and I gained higher value clients because I had a new pricing model. And that's when I really went off to the races. That's when things really kicked off for me, when I boosted my profitability, and it all started with that price increase. But very, very difficult thing to go through mentally. And if you've done one before, you'll know what I mean. And if you haven't done one, you're probably scared of the idea. But hopefully this kind of concept is starting to make a bit more sense and make it more of an attractive decision for you to do, because you don't need more volume, you just need more margin. And you don't have to be worried about losing everyone, because you won't. And there's these common objections like, I don't want to be too expensive and price myself out of the market. But it's the cheap businesses that burn out slowly over time. If you listen to the last episode again with Mal Emery, we talked about that. We talked about how, the people that have, they got great marketing and a great brand, but the maths aren't right. They just slowly die over time. And so that's the real lever here. And, the volume, it just hides the real problems like pricing and profitability. It doesn't fix them. So if you're at a 5% net margin and you're doing $500,000, you can go all the way to $1 million, but your profitability isn't very good. It's better to look at your net profit rather than gross revenue and top line. That's where the real money is going to be made, especially when you get to a certain level. All we do now is try to fine tune our bottom line. Like, how can we squeeze a little bit more out of this? What can we do to move these levers, and really boost our margins? Because we've now got all this leverage, like we've got lots and lots of revenue. If we make some very small tweaks and increase profitability by even 1%, that could be tens of thousands of dollars in extra profit every year. So it really changes your way of thinking, and it changes your whole paradigm on business, the way you look at everything. All starts with that. All starts with the price increase. It's one of the biggest mental hurdles that you're going to have to go through as a business owner. Okay. But if we flip this and look at it from a completely different perspective, now from a customer's point of view, the psychology of pricing it's actually going to make your business seem higher value and like a better option just by you having slightly higher prices. So if you have prices advertised on your website, if you ran a split test between, your website and another one, or even just your own website, if you had the same website, but you had a pricing page where it was like $30 an hour versus, $70 an hour, you would actually attract better clients on the more expensive one. And you'd probably close a lot more on there too, because it's that psychology of pricing where people look at it, and because there is a higher price attached to it, there's a certain level of commitment and prestige and just overall value for money. And if you, again, we talk about reverse engineering in business. If you have your dream avatar and you really map that person out, like who is my dream customer? Who do I really want to have as my client and that I can clean for? If you map that out and then work backwards, so reverse engineer who your ideal best dream client is, they're not someone who's going to be spending $30 an hour or, even $40 or $50 an hour on cleaning. They want to be at the top of the market. And so you get people who are willing to spend more because they have more disposable income and they care more about the service that you offer, as opposed to people that are lower income earners and they watch your every move and they count every minute on the clock and they complain about everything. And you don't get that with better quality clients that pay more. It's like this, literally, it's like a virtuous cycle. Like people that pay more, you have more money so that you can deliver a better service to make them happier, and then you're happier because you're getting paid more, your staff are able to get paid more, everything's good, and it just keeps this flywheel turning. Whereas the inverse, you charge low prices, you attract low quality customers, everything's bad. Okay. So a good book you can read is Profit First by a guy called Micah Lewitz, something like that. And it's a really good book, all about profit. So, we've established that that's the only thing that matters in business. So it's a good topic. But it really goes into about profit is not what's left over. And the pricing, your pricing model must force profitability, because you can't just cut your way to profit forever. So it all starts with the pricing model, and then everything has to lead back to that. So you have to start with a good model, a good offer, a good pricing structure, and then work backwards. A lot of us are already knee deep in this game, so it's not just going to, there's not many people listening to this that are starting out. So for us, it's about how do we change the game plan now that we're already in this. And it's going to take a lot of adapting. It's going to take a lot of, traversing and navigating. And it's going to be a bit hairy, especially if you've realized and you need to have that shift now because you've realized that your profit's low, you're not charging enough. It's going to be a little bit hairy, I'll be honest. But it's going to be the single best decision that you'll ever make in your business. for all the reasons we just talked about. So you just need to adapt. And from that point on, when you increase your prices, when you adopt that profit first mindset and that mathematician mindset in your business, that's when the whole world changes for you. And it is one of the most simple things you can do in your business. Like, it's not a hard thing to do, but what's really holding people back are those limiting beliefs and that mindset. Like, people are going to leave if I raise prices. I don't want to be the expensive option. What if they say no? I feel bad for charging more. I'm already making enough. I'll just, keep getting more clients and increasing the revenue. But that's just not sustainable. You can't keep thinking like that forever, because it's going to hold you back and you're going to slowly wither away. The flame in your business is going to slowly lose oxygen and die out, because profit is the lifeblood of everything you do. And without it, nothing else matters and nothing else works. And clients aren't going to leave because of a small price increase. They're going to leave because of things like poor service, inconsistency, lack of perceived value, or poor communication. These are the things that I always hear about. It's never about price. I've had thousands of clients over the years. I've currently got 400 clients, I think, 400 recurring active clients. None of them say anything about price. None of them. Even the ones that came from other cleaning companies, which is the majority, where usually the people they call in after someone else has done a bad job. And then they say things like, they never showed up on time. They didn't communicate well. It took so long to hear back from them when I emailed them, and the service wasn't good. It was so inconsistent and things were being missed. It's never about price. People just want to have that peace of mind and they're willing to pay for it. So you just need to just rewire your mindset a little bit and just think a little bit differently. And remember that a very, very small change in your business, even as little as a 16% price increase, can more than double your profitability by 111%. Pretty crazy when you look at it through that lens. So I hope this episode spoke to you in some way. I hope that it's kind of changed your thinking towards how you really offer your service in your business, and how you structure your pricing, and how you're going to posture your mind when you think about profitability and pricing from now on. And hopefully this has given you some more confidence or clarity so that you're able to make a change in your business if you know that you need to. And if you've already done price increases before and had success with it, then congrats to you. You're an example of it, as am I, that a simple change can have massive, massive rewards and benefits in your business to not only your bottom line, but also your sanity, because you're going to sleep a lot better at night when you make more money, simply put. So that's all for today. And I'm going to leave you with a bit of homework. So I want you to go back now and calculate your profit per clean. So look at, even if you don't charge per hour, just calculate your profit per clean and look at like the average hourly rate you get at a clean, because, if you have staff, you're paying your staff per hour. So, everything is technically by hour. So calculate that. Calculate the average profit per clean and the average profit per hour. And then ask, what will happen if I just add $5 or $10 an hour and run those numbers again like we did before? Okay, so test the price increases on new quotes and existing, and then track churn versus profit scenarios. So if you were to lose 10% of your clients or 5% of your clients, but you increase the profitability by X amount, what does that look like? And then once you do that, and once you map out a new offer structure or pricing structure, anchor the price to value, right? We need to throw all other emotions out of the window. People are going to buy based on value. They're not going to buy based on the price alone. So it's the whole experience. It's about how you communicate, how you present, how you show up, how you deliver the service. It's not just about the price. People are willing to pay for that. Okay. I'm a prime example of that. I have 400 people who pay top dollar for what we offer, and they don't go anywhere else. I actually had an email yesterday from a client. We did a quote and they told us they had a couple other quotes and they were like $50 cheaper, but we were their preferred option. And then I got back to them and I said, look, we can't really match that. That's just way out of our range. But if you're happy, we can go ahead with it, see how you feel after it, and then, just go from there. And they just got back and they were like, yeah, let's go ahead with that. So even though our prices were like 30% higher than their other quotes, they still went with us because we're the preferred option, because we have a better value proposition. Right? So even if you think you're profitable, just go run those numbers, calculate your average profit per hour, profit per clean, and then just hypothesize what happens if I were to add $5 an hour in profit and then scale that up, run some scenarios, if you lose clients, if you gain clients, whatever, and you may be surprised at the results. So that's all for today. Hope this has given you some value, as I always hope to do. And I'm feeling very, very motivated going into 2026. Feels like it's going to be a killer of a year, and we have a lot of great infrastructure in place now to finally keep up with the demand in a controlled way. So at the start of this year, I didn't think we were going to be able to double our revenue again, but it seems like we're going to do it again in 2026. So very exciting times ahead. It's a good time to really sit down, map out your numbers, set out some goals, talk about what you really want, and then reverse engineer the goal, set your North Star, and then head towards it. It's always good to do that at the end of the year. Just don't be like those people that come up with like those New Year's resolutions. I hate New Year's resolutions because it's like, if it was important to you, you would have already done it. But end of the year in business, it's a good time to just really map things out, map for the year ahead and plan. But the most important thing is action. So whatever you come up with, whatever goals you set out, make sure there are actionable steps that you're going to take in order for you to get there. So with that being said, thank you for listening to another episode of Self Made. I'll see you in the next one.